All right. Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. I'm creating this video for you to watch during our asynchronous time later today. But if you need to watch it at any time, it's up to you. It's just kind of flexible time for you to catch up either on your projects or um, kind of learning how to use different programs, techniques, that sort of thing. So I thought today I would go over a free program that's just accessible via your Google, and it's called Pixlr.com. So if you go to Pixlr.com, so it's just Pixlr.com, it'll take you to these different selections. So there's Advanced Pixlr and there's Playful Pixlr, kind of a more simplified version. But I would say that the advanced is already pretty simple, at least on the surface. So I'm going to give a demo on how to use advanced Pixlr because there's a lot of tools that I think are really important and actually not that hard to use once you start using them. So you just click on advanced Pixlr and you'll see there's these different files. And if you do create an account, it's a free account. It just allows you to save your projects so you can access them later. But you don't have to. You can just go to pixlr.com/e and so yeah, you can go to Pixlr. Let me close out of there. Pixlr.com/e, and it will take you directly to it. But either way, you should be able to find it. So, what you do is you can say open image. So, say if you have a picture you want to Photoshop or edit, you can click open image. But and the benefit of that is it'll open the image. Here, I'll show you. It'll open the image based on the size of it. So if I open this picture here, it creates a document that is scaled to this size. So let's go ahead and let's actually go back. Oops. So I want to go to Pixlr E. The other way is just going to create new here. So if I create new, I can select like Web 720. So think of these top three as probably the most commonly used sizes because these two on the right here, 1280 by 720 and 1920 by 1080 are your kind of standard screen size for like television. A lot of laptops with that screen. And then web small is just like a smaller file, so it's kind of a web friendly size because you won't create something that's too big. But let's go ahead and do the 1280 by 720. I'll hit create. And you'll end up with this blank screen. So when you see these checkered squares, think of that as just there's nothing there. It's just transparent. I can right away start painting, so I can click this draw tool or paintbrush tool, and I can select colors over here. This kind of switches between the two colors, but I can click on it and pick a color and then hit OK. And then I can just start painting whatever I want. Blurp, blurp, blurp. Just so yeah. But you'll notice there's this background behind it, or there's these checkered images. And so if I were to save this as a JPEG, there would just be like, I think there would just be like a white background. But let's go ahead and undo. So I hit Control Z, just so you know. If you hit Edit, Undo, you can undo that. Control Z. But yeah, the button Control in the lower left, and then hit Z, and that'll undo. All right, so the other thing we could do is, here's this little bucket or fill tool. I can just click in this translucent space and just click, and it'll turn purple. So say you wanted like a purple background and then draw over that. I can create a new empty layer and then get my brush tool and then change the color to like green and then draw over that. So right away you can get going and just use this as kind of like a painting program. But if you want to work with images or photos, you can import those as well. And you may have remembered in Chrome Canvas, it didn't work where you could bring in one image and then draw over it, which is great, but you couldn't bring in multiple pictures. So that's one limitation in Chrome Canvas. All right, so let's go back to here. Okay, so let's say we want to edit a photo. I can click these dots and just say, I think I can hit the trash can, it'll delete it. But let's hit the plus button and go to image, and now I can bring in an image. If you remember when I first opened that picture, it was of that, like a forest scene, and it was kind of this, rectangle. And that was bringing that picture in without, your project was set up for that picture, this frame size. But now if I bring in this forest picture here, see how big that is? I mean, I can drag it around. So this forest or this tree picture was actually much bigger. So if I zoom out, you'll see how big that is. So I can scale it down. And it's good to work with images that are higher quality. You'll notice if something is low quality, like a small file size usually is an indicator that you're going to have low quality. But you can always scale large images down. So yeah, maybe I'm like doing a report on forests or something like that, and I wanted to create this really nice page. I mean, you could do this probably in like Google Slides, but if you wanted to do some like detail work, I could, do a lot more in here. But there is like a text. So if I wanted to be like, I wanted to, add a text layer. You can say, alpine trees. And then I can move that over to here. And then you could add like text or something like that. Just trying to show you some practical uses. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to delete this. So hit the trash can. And let's bring in another image. I want to show you one more thing. I'm going to bring in this car. Picture. Sorry, it's taking a while, but it is a Chromebook. So here's the car image. So I hit open. So now you can see this car is actually smaller. So it's not as high quality, but I can stretch it out and fill it. It's okay if a little edge gets over. You're kind of just cropping it there. Then if I just click off, it'll deselect. So I don't even really need this purple background, but I'll show you something with that. So maybe I want to remove this background. So see how there's this school. Actually kind of looks like Cesar Chavez. But you can see this background here. So if I wanted to remove it in a really quick way, I can use the lasso tool. And you'll see that whenever you click on any of these tools, at the very top, it gives you different selections. So like, the paintbrush, you can like, oops, or let's create a new empty layer. Sorry. So yeah, when I select like the paintbrush tool, you can see all these different selections. Now, when I'm on the photo, I can now go to the selection tool. So again, one of the major mistakes people do, and I still do this myself when I'm kind of excited and trying to like edit a photo, I sometimes forget what layer I'm on. And so you don't really know what layer you're on when you're looking at this picture. But it always tells you over here, there's a little like blue line outside of the picture. So just make sure you're on the right layer, because if I was on this purple layer and I wanted to like select a window or something, it would be selecting this layer and not this one. So make sure you're on the correct layer. Now I'm going to show you a trick for selecting. Well, here, let me first show you the lasso tool, like I was going to. And you'll see these different lasso tools. So they just call it like free draw. So I can just draw whatever, and it will select something, and then I can hit backspace and see how it cuts that out. So I like using that for kind of more detailed work, but it goes a little slower. Now there's the polygon, and what that does is it selects straight lines. So like this is really good for like a car. So if I hit delete, you'll see it kind of creates this diamond shape. So objects that have straight lines, the polygon tool is really quick and easy. And let me actually undo that. So Control Z, and you'll see this selection here. If you want to deselect, just hit escape. That will deselect. So now I can use this polygon tool and go around the car. Now there are some details I'm probably not seeing, and I'm either removing stuff I want or adding stuff I don't want. And we can clean that up later, but before I finish this, I'll finish it. So let me just rough it out. Oops. Looks like it deselected. Here, I'm just going to go quick and go boop, boop. Yeah, you have to be careful. Sometimes when you're doing detailed selections, you'll get really far and then, it undoes it. So why are you doing that? I want to figure out why it's doing that. Huh. I don't know why it might be, you know what? I think, let's go to select. No, I wasn't selecting anything. So it's happy there, but not happy with the car. Well, let's try another tool, because I wanted to show you another tool, and let's figure out later why that wasn't working. But the magnetic tool kind of looks for shapes and lines. It works really good in Photoshop, but when you're working on detailed work, especially on an online program, it doesn't work great. But you can see I can go up to edit, and I can say cut. And what happens is it'll cut out. Oops, see, I just did what I was saying not to do. There's that purple. So let's actually undo, Control Z. There we go. Make sure you're on that layer. But you see how my selection stays on this layer. So that's kind of nice. So now when I hit X, Control X, or go up to Edit, Cut, it'll remove that selection. I don't want to do that. I was just kind of showing you that. What I really want to do, and hit Escape, I want to remove this window. So if I use the magic wand tool, but it's called wand select in here, if I hit wand select, I just want to remove this window. And what's cool about this is it looks for, I mean, it works really good for like, you know, like if I wanted to remove this blue, it looks for like everything of the same color, and then it's a very smart tool. It kind of looks for blocks of color and then selects those. But I want to select the window. And you can change how sensitive, you know, if you want a lot of sensitivity, it'll, oops, and because I'm selected there, yeah, it'll just select all that. So let's put it down to like 25. And we have to, if you go to select and hit deselect, whenever you're in a selection mode, it's good to go up to select. Make sure you're not selected on anything, because that can also be confusing. Okay, so I can remove most of that window, and you'll see that purple show through, and that's because it's above that layer. And so whatever I cut out, think of that as just like cutting out a hole on a piece of paper, and whatever's behind it, you see through. So I hit Control D to deselect, and then I can go in with my eraser and erase all that other stuff. And it's best to zoom in so you'll see. And if you use a space bar, I can, makes a hand. There we go. And you can see it removes some of that there. You know, you just have to be a little careful when you're selecting. But yeah, I just wanted to show you how to remove stuff. And now I could like even add another image. I can go and add like a leaf. I have a leaf saved. And because this is like a white background, I can easily remove that with the magic wand. So see how it kind of selects there. One little trick, if you turn up the feathering like that. Oops. Let's go to like 10. And then hit delete. It does a slightly better job of cleaning up the edges, but you see it's a little fuzzy there. But if I didn't have the feathering on, it sometimes looks a little blocky. So it's up to you to kind of play around with. So yeah, now that there's this leaf here, it's on this top layer. Here, there's this blank layer I can get rid of. Click there, trash can. Now if I move it behind the car, you can see it's sandwiched in between the car and this purple. So I can use the selection tool and move it. Oops. Again, I'm on the wrong layer. Click on the leaf layer. I can move this. Why are you doing that? Select. Ooh. If it's ever giving you that kind of trouble, like it just keeps selecting, you can lock this layer. So let's go ahead and lock it. There. And I can stretch this out. You know, for whatever reason, I want to have like this leaf texture inside the window. So There we go. And we can zoom out. You can navigate your image over here. You can zoom out too. Cool. So yeah, now if I wanted to further edit this car, I could unlock it and hit, whoa, not delete, unlock. Let's see if the lasso tool is going to work a little better. Because this is an online program and I'm using Wi-Fi, it's a little slower and sometimes glitchy, but I've found one way of working around the sort of glitchiness is just to kind of work in increments. So even though I want to select this whole background, I'm just going to remove a few chunks at a time. There, that's working. Now if I hit backspace, boom, you can see the purple background is there. So now I could add in like another image, you know, like I could put in that that tree forest scene. Here. It's going to drop it on top, but if I move it behind, see how now I have this forested scene. So anyways, you know, kind of just a quick way of showing you how to use Pixlr. You know, you can really, I mean, hopefully this kind of shows you what you can do and how you can edit like photos of yourself. I didn't even use most of these tools. I just used a few. There's so much you can do. So if I want to save this, I can just go up to File, Save. I can save as a JPEG, car, leaf. I'll just call it car leaf. And boom, I can save it. And it's saved. You can see it right there. If you don't create an account, but you wanted to like edit this later, just one other little trick is if you go File, Save, and save as a PXD, it'll save all those layers and you can open this project back. Even if it's deleted online, you can open it from your hard drive and it'll have all those layers still in there. So all that work gets saved. All right. A lot to take in, I know, but if you can just kind of play around and edit photos, you know, paint over them, do whatever you want, and save it. We'll be using this later on, especially at the end of the quarter. But yeah, have a great weekend. You know, go ahead and watch this video again if you need to. I'll leave it up in Google Classroom.